Welcome to Haunted Hospitality, Southern Stories told by Spooky Gingers. I'm Robin.
And I'm Zoe, and we both have stories for you today because today is the Texas episode of the Haunted College Tour-palooza Season 2.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah. Every Tuesday this month, which is August, we are going to a state where there is a haunted college that is Southern, and we are each covering at least one university there and all the haunted shenanigans that happen with the singular goal of scaring incoming freshmen.
Yep. But first, Robin, how's life?
Oh, I completely forgot we do that. I'm good. Actually, no. I didn't forget we do that because I have been working on something. Zoe, I told you this in the Patreon episode or
Yes.
right before we did it. I can't remember when I told you, but I told you I've been working on this embroidery kit thing for 3 weeks, and now it is officially done.
Woo!
It was a Secret Santa gift given to me. My friend Amanda ordered it off of Etsy, and I'm just very proud to have it complete because I feel like I always start these embroidery kits and then I get one thread in and then I quit. But no, this was a very intense one. All the thread is all over everything, and it's done. And
really
I'm very
pretty.
happy with it. So thank you. I just needed the validation. How are you, Zoe?
Well, I'm good. This is the first episode we've recorded where I've come back from my Savannah trip.
Yeah.
So there are 3 things I'd like to cover. 2 are related to Savannah, 1 is not, so I apologize if this is a little bit long, but I promise it is all spooky related, or podcast related at least. So the first thing, Robin, I already kind of told you about this. I went to the Moon River Brewing Company.
Yes, you did.
Okay, so that is episode something, but it's like probably in the 30s, if I'm guessing. But
It's episode 12.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just like package that to like put away and I analyze later. Okay, so one of the things in that episode that I discussed was the bathroom ghosts. And Robin, when I sent you the photo of myself at the Moon River Brewing Company, you said, don't get groped by the bathroom ghosts. Well, I do have to tell you, I did go into the bathroom. The spookiest thing about that bathroom was the giant turd that was stuck in the handicapped toilet that would not flush.
Oh.
And the other thing,
I'm not going to be the same this whole episode.
The other thing, okay, I think I said vaguely the words that were sometimes the bathroom door, like the stall doors get stuck shut and people say that they aren't sticky doors. I think I said something around that. No, those doors are like the stickiest doors. I don't know if they put like 3 too many coats of paint on it or what, but I had to like body check the door to get out of the stall.
When you say sticky, you mean like they stick closed versus like you touch it and you're like, oh, that's sticky.
No.
That's concerning.
No, they stick closed. So like I guess they use glossy paint on the door and the door frame, and it like sticks together. And so like you have to like slam the door down to get it to open.
So your team, it's the glossy paint versus team, it's the ghost locking you into the stall.
Yes.
That's severely disappointing.
I know. The other thing that I wanted to cover from my trip to Savannah, Georgia, I have already kind of gloated about this, but my group that I went to Savannah, Georgia with, we do a escape room every time that we go on a trip together. Okay? And before we left, we booked an escape room at one of the escape room places. I don't know why I clarified that. And they were like, oh yeah.
No, I assumed you were escaping out of a boat.
Yeah. No, so
That wasn't that funny. I'm sorry.
We walked in and like, first of all, the guy that they had working the event, they were like the perfect employee. They were like spooky and emo. It's great. So the theme of the room was that this girl, she died in a fire after she was trying to get her dolls from one of the fire that had gone in there. And you have to find out how she died or if that's like the true story, before you also die. So you have a 1 hour time limit. You get 3 hints, and he's told us that it was a 30% escape rate. Only 30% of people successfully escape. We escaped with 25 minutes to spare using no hints.
I'm very impressed with you. I cannot relate.
But
because I have not ever won a single escape room. Am I the problem?
yes. No, to be fair, the one that you did with me, that one did break. Like, that one straight up, I don't count it anymore on my win ratio because the panels didn't open. We can discuss this later. But that didn't scratch our escape room itch. So right before we left, we did another escape room. And that one, like, you're helping the FBI as they try to catch the serial killer who they believe to be the mayor. So you have to, like, break into his house and, like, find evidence that he is the serial killer. And that one, we escaped with 4 minutes left. And we did we used 2 hints, but we had to radio for help 4 times, including the 2 hints, because there were 2 times that we solved the puzzle and we were like, hey dude, this is the code we're coming up with, we're trying to use it in this lock, it's not working. And he was like, no, that's the right code, that's the right lock, just try it again. And so we got somebody else to try it again, and then it would unlock. So it was like sticky locks. So I only count it as 2 hints. But that was fun. That was exciting. It was a lot of fun. And then the last thing I have to say in my house life section is that this is my birthday episode.
It is!
Woo!
It is. Okay, so your birthday is on Friday of this week. It's coming up. And so this episode is coming out...
on Tuesday.
Of this week?
Yeah, it's coming out the 16th.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, Zoe. So your birthday is happening after this episode. Okay, well, happy early birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome very much.
Okay, so that's...
excited?
I am excited. So Kari was in Vegas the weekend before this one, and I obviously went to Savannah, Georgia, so I purposely didn't plan anything until this weekend when Kari and I both were able to get our negative COVID test results back, because I didn't want to plan something and then be disappointed that we have to cancel. So I'm excited.
Totally got that. So, yay. Okay, so
you have a something
I'm just gonna
for us.
jump into my something.
Yes.
I do have a something. It could qualify as either as something spooky or as something southern, but as we all know, I am not the best at favoring something southern, so I'm gonna do a something southern to show it a little bit of love.
Okay.
But okay, Zoe, we are Googling. We Google like places with the word haunted following it a lot.
Yes.
Okay, this is 90% of what it takes to be a podcaster in this genre. So if you're like me, you've come across a lot of things that say this is the most haunted city in the country, and I'm like, it seems pretty haunted, but who is the arbiter? Who is saying what is the most haunted city in the country, or in the South, or in the state, for goodness sake? So I found 10 articles that were talking about the most haunted, like they were all listicles of the most haunted cities in the country. Some of them, about 3, I believe, are most haunted places,
Okay.
but I would scan through them and pick out the cities and make it just say like 1 vote in terms of those articles for most haunted city. Okay, so I went to 10 different of these things. They're all going to be linked on our website, and I did math, and I went through and I
That's
found
the real spooky part of this.
5. That's the really spooky part. Honestly, the math consisted of counting and then being like, this number is more than this number. So then I determined the top 5 slots for most haunted southern cities. And I have honorable mentions for ones that were mentioned fewer times, but we're still given some love in these lists. Okay, are you ready, Zoe, for the official most haunted southern cities list. Okay.
I am ready.
All right. I'm gonna make it going up. Number 5, Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
I have heard of it.
You covered it.
Oh. I'm like, why does that ring a bell?
The Crescent Hotel.
There we go. Okay.
4, Galveston, Texas. It came up quite a bit, and to be honest with you, I don't actually know why.
I have heard of Galveston, Texas, though.
I've heard of it too. I just we should look into that, see why it's haunted. Number 3, this is a tie for third spot.
Ooh.
It's St. Augustine, Florida, which
Makes sense.
we have covered
Yes.
in the St. Augustine Lighthouse episode, and San Antonio, Texas,
Which we've covered.
We have covered, and spoiler alert, we'll be covering again today. Ooh. Second place. Zoey, I want you to, in second and first place, I want you to be guessing what city I'm talking about. What do you think is the second, or in the second spot for most haunted southern city?
I'm gonna, okay, it's either Savannah, Georgia, or Charleston, South Carolina. Those two are the top 2 spots.
It's Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yay! Can we get like a sound effect of yay? No, too much. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make it yay. Okay, and first spot, your vote is Savannah, I'm assuming?
Yes.
You are half right. It is a tie
Okay.
between Savannah, Georgia, and New Orleans, Louisiana.
Forgot about New Orleans. Yeah.
Which I cannot believe you didn't guess New Orleans. Honestly, you're such a New Orleans girl.
Honestly, I see so many things being like Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston, South Carolina are the most haunted. But like, I feel like all the newspaper articles are just like, yeah, you guys know New Orleans is the most haunted, so we're not even gonna say it anymore.
We're giving up on that one. We got to say more interesting things. I am going to give an honorable mention to the following. I don't even know how many, because apparently my math ran out at this point.
Okay.
Cities that were listed at least once on these most haunted articles, or on the most haunted places articles. There was something in the city that was listed. So Charlotte, North Carolina, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Cahaba, Alabama, Lake Charles, Louisiana, Austin, Texas, St. Francisville, Louisiana, Pawleys Island, South Carolina, we covered that. Corpus Christi, Texas, Jefferson, Texas, Asheville, North Carolina, we covered that. Birmingham, Alabama, Louisville, Kentucky, Oxford, Mississippi, Adams, Tennessee, we covered that. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Selma, Alabama, and Key West, Florida, we covered that. All right. Thank you. That was my something southern.
Were you rapping there? Like, is that what just happened?
It wasn't intentional, but I did seem to get into a rhythm.
Yes, you did get into a rhythm. And it got to the point where I was like, wait, is she saying the city names first or the state names first?
I'm glad I added that layer of confusion to you. I don't know why. Okay, so Zoey, you are going to give us your Texas University first?
Yes. But before I get into it, Robin, is there any trigger warnings for your story?
I do not believe there are any, no.
Okay, I have a really brief mention of suicide in mine. Like I said, very brief.
All right,
let's get into it. So I covered Texas A&M. I feel like anytime I think of Texas in colleges, I think of Texas A&M. Like, that's just the one I think of. And it turns out it's haunted. So let's go ahead. So Texas A&M was founded in 1876 as the Agricultural and Mechanical College of Texas before it changed its name to the Texas A&M University in 1963. It is a military college, and it actually has the largest student body in the United States, according to Wikipedia. Yeah. And then the campus is in College Station, Texas, and it's about halfway between Waco and Houston. And the campus has 5,500 acres.
Oh, God.
It's huge.
Okay, it's huge.
Yeah. For reference, I think the other
There's
college...
bound to be a ghost.
Yeah, the other college that I'm covering in our next episode, I think it was like 880 acres. So... not even 1,000. So with such a large population, and with it being so old and having a large span. No wonder it has some ghosts, like you said, Robin. Texas A&M also has a club called the Texas A&M Paranormal Society.
Yes.
And believe it or not, they were interviewed in a lot of the articles I was reading. So the first ghost...
I love when these schools have a paranormal society. It makes our job so much easier.
It really does. It really does. So our first ghost, his name is Roy Sims, and he is very, very popular. The story goes that on Saturday, November 14th, 1959, Roy Lee Sims was preparing meat in the animal laboratory in the basement of the Animal Industries building. So he joined A&M staff when in 1938, he started working in the campus dining hall, but then he left to go fight in World War II. And then when he came back in 1946, he was promoted to the meat locker room foreman. I'm sorry, he came back in 1946 and then he was promoted in 1948. So on November 14th, 1959, around 8:10 a.m., Roy was cutting a slab of bacon by hand. So he was, at this point, skinning the pig. Which, I know, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And his assistant, Zoey Newton, which I love the name Zoey, stepped outside to check the weather report on his car radio. So Roy ended up being alone in this lab. And Roy was cutting towards himself as he was cutting the bacon. And his knife slipped. And he was using a very, very sharp butcher knife. And he managed to accidentally slice his left leg open. And he severed his femoral artery, which is one of the arteries that goes straight to the heart. I think that's the definition of artery. But anyway, so he started bleeding profusely. Right. Yeah. And Zoey returned shortly after and saw Roy bleeding out on the ground and called an ambulance. But by the time the ambulance arrived, Roy was already dead.
Okay, so when we had not yet decided who was covering what, I did find this story. I didn't find mention of Zoey, though.
So I saw in a couple articles, it was just called his coworker. So Zoey's name isn't...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But this is actually according to a newspaper that I was able to see a screenshot of. So this story is completely real. Like, you can read about it.
Versus a whole bunch of... Most, I feel like, of the origin stories of certain ghosts in these college things are, like, very much just lore.
Yeah.
But this isn't. Whoa.
Yeah. So you can actually see the story of his death in the Bryan Daily Eagle, and the date was too small for me to read, but it was within the week of November 14th, 1959, because the article said that this past Saturday he died. And so, like, if they had covered it the following, so it was within 7 days of that. And the headline of the front page says Ice Storm Blankets, Brazos County. So if you guys want to go find it, that is the article. But yes, so by the time the ambulance arrived, he was already dead. He was pronounced dead at 8:15 a.m. So that was about 5 minutes after Zoey left. So he died really quickly. But I don't know who pronounced him dead, because that was before the ambulance got there. And I thought only doctors could pronounce somebody dead.
That's true.
So there is a part of it that may or may not be true. It's not in the newspapers, but it is the story around the college campus, is that instead of just, and it makes sense, it's just really sad to think about, instead of just like laying there on the ground waiting for somebody to come help him, there's a freight elevator that went down to the basement, and this was like the only elevator at the time that went down to the basement. And so he started dragging himself to that freight elevator, hoping that he could get in and go to the ground floor to get some help, because not many people were in the basement. And supposedly he died in front of the freight elevator. so he never made it to the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the story. Let's get into the ghost of Roy. So people believe that his ghost is still in the building. One student, whose name was Lindsay Sage, and I'm like, that's the perfect person to interview about a ghost. She was quoted on the Good Bull Hunting, which is a news site for the football team, which is interesting. She said, "A lone soul wanders the dark hallways of the animal industries building." And that was the only quote she provided. So I'm in love with that.
Yeah.
So,
I like that it was provided by somebody named Lindsay Sage.
yeah,
It seems very on brand for her. She is a brand.
she is. So custodians and students say that if you stay overnight in the building, you can hear screaming voices in the hallways. You can hear footsteps, and you can hear slamming doors when no one is around. People say that they can see strange objects moving on the wall. It's like they see the shadow of objects moving, but they don't see like the actual objects, but only near the freight elevator.
It's freight.
It's a freight elevator. It's freight? I've only heard it pronounced. I've only heard it pronounced freight.
Okay, maybe it's a regional thing. I don't know.
I'm gonna continue saying freight because it's punny.
It is very appropriate for a spooky podcast, so okay.
Okay, so custodians have actually requested reassignment after spending only a few evenings at this part of the building. So they'll spend a couple nights there and be like, nope, thanks, I want to clean a different part of the campus. While other custodians are like, oh no, it's spooky, I'm staying here forever. So those are my people. There is a teacher, he's no longer there. I don't think this was in the 70s. There was a teacher named Dr. Gary Smith, and he said that when the elevator is left on the top floor, the containers in the lab on the bottom floor would be found uncapped and thrown around the next day. So the custodians asked him to leave the freight elevator on the bottom floor and leave the door open. And they found that if they do that, if they leave it on the bottom floor with the door open, the containers won't be moved, like nothing will be amiss in the room. And people, like the story goes, is that he's able to like get to safety in the elevator and spends the night there instead of like destroying the lab.
Okay.
And now I'm skipping ahead a little bit in my notes, but now the lab is a bathroom actually, and the entrance to the fire escape. So they technically don't really need to do that anymore, but traditionally they still do. They leave the elevator at the bottom with the doors open overnight. So people claim that they hear screaming in the elevator and that the elevator will move without being called or buttons being pushed. I did watch a YouTube interview, which is in my notes. And in the interview, as they were telling the journalist about the ghost, the lights flickered, dimmed, turned off, and then turned back on.
That's what I'm talking about.
I
That
know.
is good right there.
And, like, it wasn't like people, like, started screaming or anything, but the professor who was there, who was, like, interviewing or being interviewed, he was like, oh, there's Roy. And so they just kind of, like, laughed about it. And I was like, okay, cool. Excuse me. So Roy's, I might have to become the next ghost.
All right, I'm very sad, everybody, to present you episode 73 of Haunted Hospitality. This will be our final episode, but you do get a ghost story out of it. And confirm, ghosts are real.
Woo! So Roy Sims, his grave is in Wellborn Cemetery, which is right outside of the city, but many believe that his spirit never made it there. Do, do, do.
Okay, it took me a second to process that sentence when you put the do-do-do out there. I hope he is at peace, even if his peace is creating hijinks. That is fine, and I hope he's doing well.
I hope he is doing well as well. So the next one is Francis Hall. So this, according to the student newspaper called The Battalion, they interviewed Dash Dozier, who was, at the time, a psychology senior and a member of the Texas A&M Paranormal Society. He says that they went to Francis Hall because they got reports of a girl in a white nightgown. And they went, a couple of their members did see her apparition. They searched the entire building. So, like, she went around a corner and everybody was like, whoa, what was that? And so they chased her, but she was gone. And so they did a full search of the building and they couldn't find her anymore. And then they kind of like reconvened and then they looked out a window and there she was, just chilling in the window outside looking at them. But the problem was the window was at least 9 feet in the air.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, what you standing on? So they believe
hopefully.
they believe that she was floating. So then Dash was on the 3rd floor after they split up again. He was on the 3rd floor and he saw a different woman, like a woman, this was a girl, so a woman, walking down the stairs that wasn't a part of their group. And so he radioed to his team that was downstairs on the 2nd floor near the same stairwell. And he said, hey, did a woman just come out the stairwell? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? And then they checked the stairwell and she wasn't there either. So she just walked down the stairs and then disappeared. And then the club did do research after this, but they couldn't find any origin stories. And other people say that still to this day, they hear shrieks and see other ghostly figures throughout the hall. So that was that hall. The next one is Kyle Field. So there was another student interviewed by the battalion. Her name was Lauren Lund, and she was volunteering doing cleanup on Kyle Field. It was after some event. I think it might have been football. Yeah, it was football. So they were just like cleaning up trash. It was part of her sorority. And she was walking around the field and she got bit on the boot. Hold on. Quote, she got bit on the booty by something that wasn't there. End quote.
That's a cause for concern, yeah.
And so, like, the next game, the following weekend, she was doing cleanup again, and she saw another girl, like, jerk as if she just got bit on the booty. And there wasn't
something that wasn't there.
And there wasn't anything there. So they call this spirit Reveille V. And I'm like, that's really weird. Because at first I was reading it as Reveille V. Because it's using Roman numerals. So apparently they believe that this is the ghost of Reveille V, who is the 5th line in the descendants of the real dog mascot of Texas A&M.
Oh, wow. You know, okay. I think I really, really liked that they didn't just straight up jump to Reveille the First. They were like, no, this is Reveille the Fifth.
Well, okay. So their logics for it is that, so the current Reveille is Reveille the 10th. And so their logic is Reveille the 5th is the middle child. And so needs to act up more. And so she has to bite people who are, quote, red ass, aka full of school spirit.
Okay, this beats out Agnes from Brunel University as my favorite ghost we've covered in the Haunted College tour-palooza. It's Reveille the Fifth.
Reveille the Fifth, yeah.
Bites the people who are red ass.
Yes.
In their ass.
Well, Robin, if you'd like, you can go ahead and follow Reveille the 10th on Twitter, because she does have a Twitter. They all have Twitters. So her handle is at Reveille, which it does not spell the way it sounds. So it's at REVEILLE.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, no. I was calling her like Reveille for a while.
Not Reveille the Fifth.
But yeah, so that's at Kyle Field. So don't lean over at Kyle Field, otherwise you'll get bit on the booty.
I'll try to keep my school spirit for Texas A&M to a minimum.
Okay, so just a quick lightning round. Turner Bishop Hall. So this, I call it a lightning round because I couldn't find more than one source that was talking about it, and the source I found was very minimal. So at the Turner Bishop Hall, there is a young girl who is seen in the halls that likes to pull hair, move furniture around in empty rooms, turn on showers, and unlock doors. At Lewis Hall, there is a former female student who died by suicide by jumping off the building and supposedly haunts the hall. People have seen her walking around, say they have felt cold spots, and feel watched. The next one is College Hall. A man died by suicide after hanging himself in the bell tower, and the tower is reportedly haunted. Couldn't find out how, couldn't find out what they see. So yeah, cool.
Just so you know, it's haunted. They can feel it. I don't know.
Yeah. And then last of my lightning round, in the Edward N. Jones Auditorium, it is supposedly haunted by a construction worker who passed while building the auditorium when he fell from the rafters. He is said to turn on and off lights, lock doors, and knock costumes off their hangers. And I find it really funny that he locks doors and the first girl in the Turner Bishop Hall unlocks doors. So clearly they are two sides of the same coin. But Robin, this is not where I leave you for Texas A&M. I have three anonymous stories left by Texas students on TexasHauntedHouses.com. So, like I said, anonymous, but I can tell you the title of the caption, of the comment, I guess. Yes, comment. So, the first one was published 5/25/20. So, May 25th, 2020. 2020.
2020. Yeah.
2020. It was called the Lucio Dorms. So, my boyfriend was staying at the dorms in Lucio during the summer, and I went during a holiday to spend the night, and his other roommate had invited some friends over. These dorms have 4 bedrooms along one wall and 2 bathrooms on opposite sides of the dorm. So my boyfriend and I were having a serious talk and had the door locked, and we both coincidentally had to pee at the same time. So we both...
In the middle of the serious talk.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's code for Bow Chicka Bow Wow, because you're supposed to pee after doing...
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. I was just like, that's a weird time to have to pee in the middle of your serious talk.
Yeah, because they had the locked doors and both had to clean up afterwards. So, yeah. So we both end up going to the 2 different bathrooms on the opposite sides, while the other roommate and his friends were all playing video games on the sofa. I came back to his room and the door was shut and also locked. I had left all of my stuff in the room, like my phone, laptop, and clothes, and so did my boyfriend. And we were both like, "Did you shut the door?" We both clearly remember leaving it open, and we asked the roommate's friends if they closed it, and they were all pretty occupied with the game and said that they didn't. It was also a holiday, so the janitor could not come to unlock the door until the next day. So my boyfriend, trying to solve the problem, goes out on the ledge of the other room's window, trying to get to his window and see if it would open from the outside. We're on the 2nd floor. He stops for a second and wants to try the other room on the other side of his window. Me and his friends were waiting at my boyfriend's door for them when all of a sudden we hear the blinds moving in the room and something falls off the table inside their locked room. So me and the friend ask them if they've gotten into the room. They yell that he hasn't even gotten onto the ledge yet. Me and his friends both look at each other like, WTF, we literally just heard the blinds moving and something fell. They eventually gave up and we ended up having to sleep on the couch, but me and his friend will always remember what we had heard. The janitor opened up the room the next day and nothing had fallen off the desk. Another short story. My friend informed me about her experience there, and she says that her hangers are always swinging in her closet. Another said a smiley face was drawn on the mirror after a shower, and she has the door locked, so her roommates could not have done it. Lucio, for sure, is haunted.
Okay, the smiley face on the mirror creeps me out.
Yes,
I would not like to find that.
That could have been done, like, in chapstick beforehand, or Vaseline or something like that. And then when she took the shower, it wouldn't have stuck to that section. So that could have not been a ghost, but I just love the idea of, I can't get into my room, let me climb onto a window ledge and get in that way.
Yeah. The brain has not finished developing when you are an undergrad, unless you are 25 or older.
Yeah.
So your brain's about to be finished developing.
I know, I can't wait.
So exciting.
Now I can do all the hardcore jugs. Mom, that's a joke. Okay.
When you get 25, you won't want to. Your risk assessment will have completed.
Oh,
That's the whole
okay.
thing.
Okay. So the next one is called Martin Hall Hauntings, and it was posted 11/30/2019. I was living in Martin Hall, and I woke up one night because I got thirsty, but the water from the fountains tasted weird, so I had to go downstairs to the first floor where there was an ice machine to get ice to kind of take away the nasty flavor of the water. Anyways, on my way back, I heard a door close, like as if somebody had walked out of their dorm. At first, I didn't think anything of it, but then I started to feel weird, as if someone was watching me, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I could hear somebody walking behind me, and I felt a presence behind me. As soon as I got out of that hallway, I looked back, and there was no one there. I will never forget that. It still creeps me out to this day. Yes, that was 2 sentences.
I think it was just the cadence of it was kind of running along, but that is quite creepy.
Yeah. I agree about the water thing, by the way.
Yeah. That's the stage where you start buying the gallon water from the grocery store, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drink bad tasting water.
That probably
That's
means
just my
something's
opinion.
bad.
Yeah, there's a reason there.
Okay.
All right, so you have one more story for us?
One more.
All right.
So this one's called Ghost Contact and Rituals on the Attic. And it was posted 3/17/2019, and I did edit this one for length/clarity. So, I was an exchange student at Texas A&M Kingsville, and I was living in Lewis Hall. From September until December, I had a lot of bad experiences there. The worst one was when I was taking a shower and I felt that someone was in the bathroom. I decided to start singing and finish my shower normally. When I opened the curtain after the shower, on the mirror in front of it, there was a mark of a hand, like on the Titanic. That one creeps me out. Those who lived there knows how the bathrooms and rooms are arranged. There is one bathroom in between the set of 2 rooms, and it has different doors. I knocked on the door that goes to the other room and asked the other guy if he did that. He said he didn't move from his bed, and he was also feeling really cold. We decided to leave the room and go talk to other people. Another day, me and some friends had a barbecue at the patio in the middle of the building. We felt like we were being watched the whole time. We were a bit drunk and going all the time to the bathroom on the first floor. At some point when I was peeing on the bathroom, I hope that means in the bathroom, and I heard someone... At some point when I was peeing in the bathroom, I heard someone entering the bathroom, and there were 2 doors, and they were really loud. I started talking to the person who came in, but nobody replied. When I left the stall, there was no one in the room. On the same day, the same thing happened to some of my friends, and we decided to leave the building. Another situation was a day when there was a holiday and the university was empty, but we were still there. At some point in the afternoon, a lot of weird people wearing black started entering the building and going to the attic. I started wondering how they entered the building since we need our card to enter it. There was a door kept open with an empty bottle to keep it open. They broke the alarm so that it wouldn't make a noise because it was open for so long. Then after that, On another day, they went up to the attic and there was a circle of old chairs and a drawer used as a table in the middle, right on top of his room, or my room. After that, I decided to move. I was supposed to stay in Kingsville for 1 year and a half, but I contacted my sponsors and begged them to be moved at the beginning of the next semester. They moved me to another state.
Wow, this person left the state.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I admire the commitment to getting the F out.
Yeah. They were like, just like, yo, move me.
Move me. Oh my gosh. So there's, actually, okay, I think where I had the idea for getting the F out, just real quick from, there's a podcast I listen to called, like, Sounds Like a Cult, and at the end of it, they say, like, is this a cult? And it's, like, 3 stages of it. First being, like, live your life, second being watch your back, third stage being get the F out. And I think that person looked at those group of people that went up to the attic and they were just like, I'm getting the F out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I admire that hugely. Can I tell you one more thing I thought about the hand on the glass?
Yes.
The handprint. Okay, 1, spooky as all get out, for sure. But the thing is, it made me think of the story that, like, I actually know. It didn't happen to anybody I knew, but, like, it was so freaky. So this girl did see, like, a handprint on the wall of her bathroom, and they thought, oh, this, like, they honestly thought it was a ghost. There was a young man living in their closet for weeks.
Oh.
So I'm just saying, like, this is one of the things where ghost is scary, person is
scarier. Yeah.
Okay, just had to add that in there.
Well, Robin, do you have your college story?
No, I just let you take the whole.
I mean, I basically did a full episode, so.
You did kind of do a full episode, but no, guys, I am legit so excited for this university. It is called Our Lady of the Lake University, which I think is a very spooky name.
King
and
Arthur.
It is called affectionately the Lake, or Olu, OLLU.
Okay.
It is near and practically in San Antonio, Texas, which, by the way, I know we previously talked about San Antonio as one of the more haunted places, but, like, legit, I kept, like, you know, I was trying to find articles that mentioned Our Lady of the Lake, and it was in a lot of these listicles of haunted places in San Antonio, and the lists went on and on and on and didn't even, like, cover all the same spots. It's just like, how haunted is your city, guys? Lord. Okay. On to Olu, which is what I will be referring to it as. So it began, I believe, first as a convent in the year 1895. Its founders were the Sisters of Divine Providence, which hail from France and followed the work of the 18th century Saint Jean-Martin Moyer, who advocated for educating women during a time when many women were not receiving a formal education. It was originally high school for girls starting in 1896, became a 2-year college in 1911, became a 4-year college in 1919, and today it is a co-ed private Catholic university and currently teaches just over 3,000 students. Now, I am very into whatever the hell is going on at this university. I know, I cursed. I'm very into it.
Okay.
I think that there are 2 classifications of spirits, and one is, okay, there might be 3, okay, but, like, okay, you have the hijinks, which is embodied in this ghost named Jack, and then you have what I'm calling the scare, which is, like, the actual, what is going on here? This is kind of horrifying and has been characterized as evil thing happening. So I'm gonna tell you about Jack first, okay?
Okay.
So he is known to haunt Pacelli Hall, which is a dormitory on the campus. Everyone knows about Jack. He's also called Jack Jack. He is one of the first things that freshmen are taught about when they come to the university. I say taught as if they, like, are in the classes and are like, all right, this is English 101. First things first, Jack Jack. No, but, like, the idea is that he especially likes to mess with the new students. I'm not sure if that information making its way to the new students is a form of light pranking on the part of Jack, as in he is performing the pranks on the new students, or if it's a kind of pranking thing from upperclassmen to tell the freshmen, oh, look out, Jack is gonna mess with you. There are a few theories as to what Jack specifically is. One of them is that he is a ghost of a child because he is mischievous but not malicious.
Okay.
A lot of people, if you follow this whole ghost of a child idea, believe that he may have originally been from the Alamo, which was about 4 miles away from where the university is today. Another theory, and I'm putting this out there, I didn't see much mentioning the idea of poltergeist, and I know I'm not like a believer in poltergeist, but like this is enough that I feel like I definitely need to bring up poltergeist, just because there is, like I said, a lot of hijinks happening with Jack, but not so much things that feel grounded in there is an image or any type of voices associated with that. There's one account of people hearing footsteps that they couldn't see what was causing the footsteps for in Pacelli Hall, and I would say that that makes me think more spirit from a human, which I would call a ghost, versus poltergeist, which I don't think is human associated much at all. But I'm leaning toward, here's what I would say: if poltergeists were real, I think he would classify as a poltergeist. Don't give me that eye roll. The other explanation, and I must share this because I am an honest person, that Jack might not be real. But that begs the question, what's actually behind it all? Okay, so thank you for the dramatic gasp. So I saw something saying that it was actually originally a rumor spread by a psychology student at the university who wanted to see how quickly it would spread through the school community. And given that when you're looking up like ghosts of San Antonio and Jack comes up, it spread quite a bit, which honestly just I commend her for. I commend her. But like I said a little bit ago, it does beg the question, okay, if Jack is a rumor, then what is actually going on in Pacelli Hall that is causing this hijinks? So here are some things that he is known to do, this Peeves the poltergeist fellow of ours. He'll sometimes take a student's personal belongings and like either hide them and then have them reappear where they were originally, or he'll hide them and he'll move them. And this is particularly annoying to one staff member because they're like, I can't finish what I'm doing if you keep moving the things that are part of what I'm doing. And he's apparently quite interactive. I could not find a specific instance of this, but apparently he is known to play a form of catch with his students, where if you throw the ball toward him, he might perhaps throw it back in return.
Okay.
Which, very creepy, and I actually really, really like. I wouldn't like that to happen to me, but I like the fact that it could potentially happen. Zoe, you might be more familiar with this than I am. So this one girl in Pacelli Hall got locked in a restroom. And when I say you might be more familiar with this than I am, it's because it is the style of restroom that I know you had that I didn't have. You had a suite style restroom when you were in your freshman dorm, which meant that you had your room. You and your roommate had your room. There was a bathroom connecting your room to what would be called your suite mates, but really is just the next room down the hall. And you had you had two doors, obviously, and then you had locks that were on the outside and the inside of both of those knobs.
Yes. So from the inside, we could lock the door so they couldn't come into our room, but also while we were in the bathroom, we could lock both doors.
Okay. This girl in Pacelli Hall, she had a suite style bathroom, and she went to, do her business, I don't know. And she was going to leave and found that she couldn't leave because the door was locked on the outside. So the door was locked to her room, was locked not on the bathroom side, but on her room side. But there was nobody else in that room. So she's like, how would that have happened? I would only have locked the inside. And so she knows her roommate. So she tries to open up the roommate side, just to get out, and that one's locked from the outside too. So she gets her roommate to come and help, and her roommate cannot open the door either. and they eventually have to get a janitor to come over, and the janitor has to literally like cut off the lock from like the doorknob, or cut off the doorknob from the door or something. She is legit super locked in there. And
Oh.
she can't figure out how it even makes sense that she would just be locked from the outside on both sides.
Yeah, because those are just thumb locks. It's like if you twist hard enough, they will become unlocked.
Yeah, yeah, well, apparently not for her. So she had one other instance where something weird happened. I think Jack may like her room because there was a time when she turned the lights off when leaving and she came back and the lights were on in her room. So,
Ooh.
spooky. Jack just took a shine to her, it sounds like. Except, locking her and having that terrible moment. I feel like I would feel claustrophobic. I have been trapped in a stairwell recently, but it only lasted like 30 seconds.
I did get trapped in the back rooms.
You did?
Yes. But I'll add that to the story for next time for my update.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay. So, oh my gosh. Some people do say that even if Jack himself is not real, they do think that something paranormal could be happening on campus, which there's definitely more paranormal things happening on campus. But before I get into that, there's one more thing for Pacelli Hall, where there's a rumor that they had an exorcism once on the second floor. And supposedly, according to this rumor, someone will bless the room each semester. However, it must not be going terribly well because one student, at least, has heard screaming in the night that he assumed was from that exorcism long ago. So that's like, I don't think that's related to Jack, but it is related to Pacelli Hall. So I just wanted to put that out there real quick. Now, here's to the scary thing. I was really freaked out by this one. This is the Nun. Like I said, it was originally a convent, and it has a building that used to be the building that was, I think, the original convent building, or at least was a convent building on campus. It's no longer used for that, but there still is a convent, I believe, on campus or really close by, where nuns do live. So I would like to say that if you go to this university and you see a nun, do not freak out. I think it's probably a live nun. Okay? And there is a graveyard on campus where nuns are buried or have been buried through the years because, this campus goes back a very long time. Like I said earlier, this ghost has been characterized as evil, and people think it's a nun, but they aren't completely sure. So she has long black hair and is always seen wearing black, which is why people think that she might be a nun. And apparently there is an element to her that when she is seen, something bad happens. This kind of goes more into like the legend of her versus maybe I think what the current experiences are. There was a fire back in 2008 and people reportedly saw her then. There was a time back a while ago when supposedly young female students were going missing and she was seen then. And this is the kicker. She was supposedly seen on the day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. And Dallas is over 200 miles away, but supposedly she was seen looking out the window that day in the direction of Dallas.
Okay.
I don't think that's the case, but I just had, the minute I saw that, I was like, I still have to do the story.
Yeah.
That was like the kicker for me. I was like, I have to do the story now. But there is a grotto on the campus. It's actually a very beautiful campus. All the images I've seen are very like Gothic architecture. I might be using the word wrong, but it's just gorgeous. And there's a grotto on there. And a lot of students will see a crying woman with, I think, black hair. And when they approach her, she will disappear. One student at least saw her walk into the actual grotto itself, which I did look up grotto at this point, and it's like a cave-like structure, but it's like typically kind of man-made and built potentially into a garden area. You are not more likely to see her in any particular building on campus, but that also means that you could see her anywhere at any point on campus. One student who is now a professor, she was an art student this time, and she was in the fine arts building heading toward the single stall restroom. And she thought she saw her friend ahead of her, and she just got a view from her back, but her friend always wore her hair in this long black ponytail. And this person had that. So she thought it was her friend, and she tried to speed up to walk beside her. But the friend kind of hurried away and got to the bathroom first. And the student kind of, who was following, went to like, kind of grab the knob, but the door slammed shut like right before she could do it. And I don't know if she like waited there a while, but she kind of needed to use the restroom. And so she like tried it and her friend wasn't responding. So she eventually did open the door. And when she opened it, nobody was there. And again, single stall.
Yeah.
Where would you have gone to? There's another very, very similar story that I found that is from a current, or I don't know if they're still there, but faculty or staff member at the university. And it was near the archive section, like the university archives. And he saw what he assumed to be his boss walking toward the archive section. And he called out for her. And similarly to the other student, he walked over to her trying to follow her, but as he was doing that, his actual boss walked out of her actual office. So he realized it wasn't her, and then that figure had disappeared. Ooh. Which he said would not have been possible given how fast they were supposedly moving. And he believes this is the nun.
Okay.
So I just found it very interesting that like two people assumed it was somebody they knew from the back, and then also felt the need to go after them, only to have that thing disappear. And I wonder, just because that was a weird thing to kind of happen twice, and then the inclination to go after somebody too, you know?
Yeah. It almost makes me like believe the story more. The fact that they initially assumed it was a friend. They didn't initially go, that's a ghost.
No, it was both just saying like they assumed it was something completely normal and then found something weird, a semi-impossible, or in some cases impossible to happen right after it. There's also one student, this is not somebody who said nun, but it does fit the description. So they were in Providence Hall late one night, and she was on her way out of the building. And before she did it, she was passing by the staircase, and she felt like someone was there with her. Mm-hmm. And something in her had her look up the stairs, and there was a woman at the top wearing a long black dress. And the student felt very unnerved by the person's appearance. She couldn't explain, she I don't know if she couldn't, but she didn't explain what about her looked scary, only that she did look scary, which makes me think potentially it was the aura or the vibe about her, you know? And she, because of the scariness, she looked away from her as she was making her way out, but she didn't hear any more steps, which she thought was weird, so she looked back up the stairs, and the person had disappeared. She wasn't there anymore. So I really think like one thing I've noticed, other than the story you're about to hear, there have been no mentions of like actual nun regalia. I'm sure that there is a specific term that I'm just not getting for what they wear.
I think the hat is called a habit, but I don't know if it's like the whole...
Yes.
I don't know if the whole thing is the habit or if it's just the hat part.
At least the head part, yeah. So I see why you would think nun, given the history and just the all blackness of this place, but I don't know. Everybody keeps mentioning long black hair, and typically, you know, you don't see nun's hair.
Because it's usually within the habit. Maybe it's a nun
usually within the habit
who somehow sinned before her death and believes she's no longer worth having the habit on.
Maybe we when we don't have a backstory, we create our own backstory. So here's a more general ghost nun story, and I don't think of it as a potentially evil ghost nun story, just simply because she is so polite. However, it is also connected with the university archives. Okay. So there is some overlap in interesting sections of this. But one student was doing a project at the university where one of the things they were doing was going to the chapel and taking photos of the chapel. And there was a nun who came up to him in the chapel and started pointing out different things he should be taking photos of, just having very nice conversation with him. And he told her that he was working on a project and what his project was about. And she said, oh, well, I am Sister Mary. I work in the university archives. You should come over because we actually have some things that could be really cool for your project if you come and take a look at them. So he's like, okay, cool. And he went over the following day and asked if he could speak to Sister Mary when he was at the university archives. And the person who worked there said that Sister Mary had passed away a long time ago. And the student eventually went to the graveyard on campus where nuns are buried, and he did find a tombstone for a Mary. And I believe it was, based on the video I saw, Mary B. Hardy, who died in 1934. And he believes this was the Sister Mary he was talking about. And so very interesting that there are two kind of nun or nun-adjacent stories involving the university archives.
Yeah, at least this was
Perhaps
a kind
Sister
one.
Mary takes off her habit sometimes.
Maybe.
Yeah, she seems super nice. Like she just wanted to help the student with this project. I have one more Our Lady of the Lake story for you, and that is when a freshman and her friend were exploring campus during their first year. They'd gone to the cemetery and quickly decided that they were kind of creeped out by it and they didn't want to pull a robin and hang out in the graveyard. So they headed back. But as they were walking, one of them heard like this sigh, and this is kind of the sound she had made, like
Okay.
like she heard a loud sigh, and the other friend pulled out of like a voice recorder app on their phone, and so they just kind of recorded as the sounds as they walked back to their dorm, and they listened to it back afterward, and they heard the sound really close to the microphone of like the and then in the distance their voices asking, did you hear that? Which meant that like the sigh was much more picked up on the recorder than their own voices were in comparison. Weird stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just the two of them. It was kind of empty around. But yeah, those are my stories for Our Lady of the Lake University in San Antonio, Texas.
Well, thank you very much, Robin. I love a good
And
creepy
thank you very
nun.
much for your stories, Zoey. Me too. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate, subscribe, review, tell a friendo, subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/hauntedhospitality. For just $3 a month, you get a new episode from us.
Yes, and it comes out on the 13th because we're spooky. If you want to see our sources for today's episode, you can head over to hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com. And if you have your own spooky story, if you've been to either of these colleges, Texas A&M or Our Lady of the Lake, you can write to us at hauntedhospitalitypodcast@gmail.com or slide into our DMs.
Yes, we are on Twitter at Haunted House. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Haunted Hospitality. We hope to see you there.
Stay
Stay
spooky.
spooky.